Welcome to Riverstone Reviews. As many of you out there are fans of Amazon Prime's The Boys, there's no need to convince you to watch it. For those of you who have not yet discovered the series, make sure to go back and screen the first 2 seasons before watching this video, and before tuning into Season 3 of The Boys. The Boys has explored and addressed every overheard argument from a comic fan base. The Boys blatantly shows us destruction and death caused by superhero actions. It shows us their failed rescues, their miscalculations, how mistakes are covered up to maintain public support, and ultimately, the financial riches that come from that. The Boys answers how superheroes en masse afford their hideout and lives, through corporate representation, product endorsement, and personal marketing. We see how a formation of the Seven, the Boys' version of the Justice League or Avengers. This elite group has deep and ongoing personality clashes, barely tolerating each other at times. And The Boys shows how superheroes become a part of this elite super team. And finally, they added in one of the most difficult debates. How would a group of normal human beings take on a group of superheroes and not get squashed like ants? The answer? With The Boys. The Boys has explored and addressed all these ideas, and done so with 2 successful seasons. Now, I know The Boys is based on a comic book series, and I have specifically not turned to the comics for answers to the issues I'm about to raise, because the books had a relatively short run of 72 issues, and Hollywood loves to take liberties with literary texts. And if the shows want to keep hardcore fans engaged, it will have to keep them guessing. So I'm treating The Boys, the show, as if it has a life and trajectory of its own. Today, we're going to take a look at the few lingering plot lines of The Boys' story at the end of Season 2 and what they set up in Season 3 with some real difficulties or excitement. The largest and most controversial plot line is Homelander's son, Ryan. At the end of Season 2, we were able to see truly how powerful his son was, and frankly, he's OP as hell. His powers were able to destroy Stormfront, the oldest and arguably most powerful of all the soups in this world. She is over 100 years old, can resist Homelander's laser vision, and quickly heal from it as well. She can control electricity, and is deeply embedded in the Vought Corporation, giving her not only superpowers, but corporate control as well. And yet, in Episode 8 of Season 2, Homelander's son was able to annihilate Stormfront with a single strike. And this boy is not fully developed yet, so he will become more powerful. The story has Ryan react to anger and rage, and although this is a reasonable dramatic tool to use as motivation for the character to discover and unleash his capabilities, it is not the way you want a good or benevolent character to access what is inside. It is reflective of uncontrolled emotions, and seemingly would make it impossible for the CIA and government, who have taken on Ryan's care and protection, to control this child, especially a young, hormonal child dealing with such big emotional issues at a time that any child is ill-equipped emotionally. If the soup child Ryan gets upset, he could destroy anything and anyone. Ryan is smart enough to realize what his powers can do, watched and was responsible for the death of his mother. This alone would make it difficult to keep Ryan emotionally calm and restrained, having experienced this kind of trauma. We've also seen how Ryan is emotionally stunted. He doesn't relate to people well, has a panic attack when surrounded in public. And in the end, when his mother is injured and dying, Ryan doesn't run to her side. He stands at a distance and apologizes for what he did, more consumed with having done the wrong thing than his mother's injuries. Now, if this was a poorly written series, I could count it as bad, unauthentic writing and move on. But in a well-written series that is creating its own canon, I must assume this reaction is intentional, in which case, Homelander's son is so emotionally stunted, he finds it easier to unleash his superpowers and kill than run to his mother and help her. I am concerned that Homelander's child Ryan is too powerful and emotionally damaged for this fictional story world. Ryan's child powers raise him as arguably to the most powerful superhero in the story. His emotionally stunted upbringing, combined with murdering someone and causing his mother's death, guarantee Ryan to have anger and regrets deep inside. He discovered his mother lied to him about his world, raising him in a fake community and isolating him from the real world and from his father's identity. Ryan is being isolated again by strangers after his mother's death. His father's superhero girlfriend was choking his mom to death right in front of him. At this point, There is no one in the world Ryan can trust. Traditionally, Ryan would be the type of character on the path to becoming a supervillain. Ryan also adds some serious kinks to the world of the story. Vought created a serum that is used to create superheroes, Compound V. Ryan is the only born superhero. If superheroes can have and raise children, it means that in the future, supers can be made without Compound V, decreasing the value of Compound V and taking away the corporation's control over those birthed supers. It also will be harder for Vought to control the superheroes if they have families, because a superhero might do what's best for their kids instead of what's best for the corporation, as we have seen with Homelander and Ryan. But birthed superheroes would even be more valuable because we have seen with Ryan that he has the traits of his superhero father, Homelander. By using breeding, one could control what type of powers the offspring would have based on the parents, whereas with Compound V it seems quite random. Although Vought has been desperately trying to market superhero services to the government, and when the awareness of Compound V became public, the corporation was moving to market Compound V for sale. But now, the CIA has control of Homelander's son, which is part of the government. This gives the government access to the firstborn super to study and experiment with, and it also gets samples of his DNA to attempt to reverse engineer and create their own serum, or get samples of Ryan's sperm when he gets older and breed more superheroes from the DNA that started with the most powerful superhero, Homelander. So it would make sense from this point on in the story that finding and taking back Homelander's child would be one of the most important missions of the Vought Corporation from here on out. It remains to be seen if this becomes part of the Season 3 storyline, or having the child whisked away by the CIA is the writers trying to remove Ryan from the storyline. But what Ryan has come to represent to Homelander as a son, Billy Butcher as the next dangerous evolution and infiltration of supes into normal life, Vought as a threat to their Compound V and superhero control, and the government as a first specimen they have to create their own supers and not pay billions to Vought for services, not dealing with Ryan in this series over time or somehow bring his existence to a resolution undermines the main premise of the film for the boys to get rid of supes and Vought to remain as the most powerful corporation in the world. The next point I want to make that will be part of this coming season is with Congresswoman Victoria Newman and her as a secret supe. We see when Victoria kills the cult leader that she is in fact the supe making people's heads explode. However, I want to point out that in the court scene where mass head popping takes place, Homelander has this reaction right here. Most people probably missed it, but as you can see, his expression is either one of realization that the Congresswoman Newman is the one doing it, or acknowledgement that to her that Homelander was aware of her abilities all along. So I expect Season 3 will reveal Homelander admits he knows Congresswoman Newman is the head popper, or that she has been working for Homelander and Vought this whole time. Finally, at the end of Season 2, Huey's mission somehow gets lost. For the first season and a half, Huey Campbell wanted to bring down supes, specifically A-Train, because A-Train killed his girlfriend. In the opening episodes, he decided to kill Translucent even though Translucent was going to walk away from Huey without harming him. But later in Season 2, Huey saves A-Train's life. And by the end of Season 2, Huey vows to continue the fight against supers, but through nonviolence. He's in a relationship with a supe, and has seemed to come to terms with the death of his girlfriend. There is another supe, Kamiko, a woman who regenerates, and she's become part of the boys. This just might be me, but I'm unclear as to what is driving Huey or his motivation to continue the fight against supes, a fight he admits he never wanted to be part of. So I'm hoping in Season 3 they re-explore Huey's motivations and what his specific mission or goal is now against the Vought supes. Because right now, his character has become similar to someone who preaches down with McDonald's while he eats Big Macs every day. Now, I'm going to make a bold speculation which would affect Huey's character. His mother is not present, and they make a point to mention in the final 2 episodes that his mother just up and left him and his father when he was a child. So I'm expecting 3 possibilities to appear in Season 3. 1, Huey discovers his mother was killed by supes, which remotivates Huey to the fight. 2, Huey's mother left his family to run off with a supe, which would create resentment in Huey towards his mother and Soups. And possibility 3, and the most powerful storyline choice, we find out Huey's mother is a Soup. This possibility has so many things to explore. Huey having anger towards Soups and his mother for abandoning him. His fight against the Soups is now also a fight against his own mother. And it raises the question if Huey has untapped powers like Homelander's son Ryan did before Homelander told Ryan he had powers. It would make Huey the firstborn Soup. It would explain how Huey has such courage, calm, and positivity in dangerous and overwhelming circumstances. It would also explain how he has been able to survive as a wimp among hardened humans and supers. And if Huey didn't have powers, it would show that not all supers having children have super children, which would resolve the superhero breeding question I raised earlier. Because if breeding Soups didn't guarantee Soup offspring, the compound V would be the only way to guarantee someone to become a Soup. And his mother being a Soup would also cause Huey to question his relationship with Starlight, for his Soup mother left him and his father, and it would make him wonder, will Starlight leave him too because he's a normal? Now this is all speculation, but I'm betting that the story of Huey's mother will start to emerge because the issue adds the kind of gray layers and conflicting realities that The Boys seems to love. So that's my superfood for thought going into Season 3 of The Boys. I hope they continue doing what they've done in the series so far, which is address in the story the kinds of questions that fans would ask or consider. The Boys is not just an alternative hero TV show. It is a show that has been brave enough to connect with their fan base and even look at their own characters through the eyes of a fan. With so many entertainment projects currently forcing ideas onto fans or ignoring fans as toxic, it is truly refreshing to see a show shamelessly embrace the ideologies of fandom. So, thanks again for watching Riverstone Reviews. Click like or subscribe, leave a comment, and show your support for this channel. And as always, in the river of life, don't let yourself get pushed around by the currents. Be yourself. Be a stone in the river.